All right, welcome everybody here. We are going to be
Hey.
interviewing the illustrious, and I do mean illustrious illustrator, Ericka Kendall.
That word.
Yes. And she is the
Yeah.
illustrator for the Little Autist children's books. Like,
Woo.
yeah. So how are you
Yeah.
doing?
Good. So I'm not sick, finally. There's a long story with that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So
You know we got to do a book about being sick and dealing with being sick.
I could really relate to that, especially last year.
Mhm.
Got sick like 10 times.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
did.
you know about it.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So, tell us about that book you're holding in your hand. What is it? Why is it? Where is it?
So this is the very first book. It's the
Mhm.
old version, but anyway. It's still the great version
You got the
of The
legacy.
Little Autist. Learns about bad weather. So
So, do you want to
kind
talk about
of,
what it's about?
yeah, it's about just our main character here. There, there we go. Just learning about how to deal with bad situations and how to overcome it with friends, and that's it was a lot of fun to draw. So I don't know if you want me to talk about like when we first met and talking about everything, or
You know,
how
we
we
can
came
dive
up
into
with the
whatever you want
characters.
to. This is your interview.
Okay.
You are the star of this
Yeah.
one.
Well, one thing I like to remember for our main character is when we were first deciding, like, oh, what kind of animals do we want to do? I just immediately thought of a rabbit. And Sean, he was like, that's exactly, was it
Hmm.
your grandma?
Grandma
Yeah, your
used to call
grandma.
me Thumper because my leg would go like this in the car or around just
Yeah.
when I was bored. And
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah,
Thumper, Thumper. So,
yeah. And we didn't even ever talk about that before.
not at
And
all.
then that was just what came to my mind. So that was cool. And then just let me see. Oh, and the cat was kind of my idea. I based it off of my own childhood cat friend, no, my stuffed animal. So that's kind of where Spooky was born. So I still have that stuffed animal actually in my art studio. So just a little inspiration when I'm like, I don't know what to draw. So
You know, for fun,
yeah,
if I can dig up a picture of Bunny. So I have this
yeah,
bunny called Bunny, and basically 2 years old, I was being pushed around in the cart by Grams. She turned her back, and then all of a sudden, she turns around and sees me chomping on this little stuffed animal's ear. She's like, "Oh, I gotta buy it now." But
yeah,
I've had
yeah,
Bunny like re-sewn, remended together like so many years,
yeah.
and I almost
That's
wonder
my
if that could be
cat.
a character. But that's a
Yeah.
good segue into the question I want to ask you. Where do you get your inspiration from for these vibrant characters?
Pretty much like Spooky, my own childhood experiences or animals. Just kind of the love of animals. Like I love drawing like foxes, so there's like two of them in it,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of picturing the story as like maybe a movie playing through my head, and I just kind of go along with. That's just immediately what I thought the character would look like. Just it just pops in my head, and I'm like, that's what I gotta go for.
So show us some
So
of those characters, because you
yeah,
got some really unique ones in there. I like the bird, like just the
I
bird doing the
let
little
me.
slam dunk. Like I love that.
Oh yeah, let me find that one. I keep flipping to like the same page. Okay, yeah, this one.
Mm-hmm.
Birds are just fun to draw, and just kind of going after just whatever animals I like to draw. Like this was the very last page I drew. Actually, I drew them out of order. I don't know why. Don't ask.
Well, that goes
But
into what I was going to ask you is like, what's your process for drawing these animals? Like, do you do the
yeah,
frame first, or do you just like, hey, you know what? I see that in my head. Like, tell us your
yeah.
process.
Well, pretty much just I get the script from you and I storyboard it. Most of them are just stick figures at the beginning.
Right.
And then I just kind of close my eyes and watch the story unfold, and then whatever scene I see in my mind, I go to that one first. So
So
all
you're
these
visualizing.
pages are, yeah, all these pages aren't drawn in order.
Right.
They're just randomly like thought of that. Okay, I'll draw that. You know.
So your inspiration is kind of sporadic for like do you go through your
Right.
day and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, you know what? This would be great." Like is
Yeah.
that how it goes?
Yeah. Like I'll go days with like I don't know what to draw, and
Yeah.
then next thing you know, I have like 3 pages. I'm like, oh, I know how to draw that now. I better like get on that. So yeah,
That
that's
is
kind of the process. And then my dog is a big inspiration too. She's here sleeping. So
okay, show us your dog in the book.
okay,
I want to see that.
okay, she's not in the book yet.
Not
I've
yet.
been waiting. Not
Okay,
yet. No,
okay.
I want to. I want
It's
to
like the
include my
dragons in
dog
Game
in
of
that.
Thrones, like they're coming.
Yeah, exactly. Dun, dun, dun. But just kind of waiting for the perfect opportunity. Thinking the third book,
I
I'll
like that.
introduce my dog. Yeah, I've been waiting because I don't want her to be like some side character. I want her to be
The star.
like a prominent character, and
I
big
like
one
it.
in the show. Yeah.
So storyboarding, like when you're
Hmm.
storyboarding, like what's going through your head on that? Are you just looking at the words and saying, I need to fit these to that and let me just frame this here and there? Like how does that work for you?
Well, let's see. Just I would say it kind of depends.
Right?
It's kind of all over the board. Like I'll just stare at the words. Like maybe for the little extra story for Spooky and the
I love
park
the extra
here.
story of Spooky the Kitty. Like that was
I
nice.
love this was my favorite part to draw. Honestly, I just like closing my eyes and picturing like toys lost at a park. Like
Mm.
when I was growing up, that's kind of where like this setting falls into.
Really?
I There was this park that there was always some lost toy there, and
Okay.
me and my sister would always like just pick it up or bet what it was gonna be, you know. So I kind of just went back and pictured that like there was always a basketball there, there was always a shoe. That's not a toy. It's a toy to a cat, and just everything, every kind of toy was always lost there. So that's kind of the inspiration to this simple little illustrations for the park.
And
So,
you brought up, leave that up, because I want to ask a question about that. You capture emotions
yeah.
so well. Like, how do you do
Thank
that?
you.
Like, what? Where does it come from? It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I take a lot of inspiration from just kind of. I've watched a lot of like documentaries on like
Right?
early Disney animation. They would use
Mm.
like their own face to kind of capture that, and I'm known to have a very expressive face to people. Probably a lot because I've been practicing just doing that into a mirror and then drawing it on characters.
That is
That's kind of where that comes from.
so. You visualize, you see the
Mm,
characters, and then you see how they're going to be expressing themselves.
right. Yeah.
I like that. Like that's a
Yeah.
very I think a lot of artists go that way, but then there are artists
Mm,
like for Disney that
yeah.
they go through a more methodical method. Like it's less
Yeah.
intuitive from what I've seen in some of the
Right.
interviews.
Yeah.
All right,
No, I
favorite Disney
just
movie?
favorite Disney movie. I like Mulan. That's one of my
Nice.
favorites.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
this is a Pixar movie, but I always liked The Incredibles. That was like my thing growing up with my family. So those are in the top 10 that come up in my head. So
Thinking about your art and the way
yeah,
that you express emotions and all of that, it actually
yeah,
does kind of remind me of The Incredibles.
yeah,
Just in how things are loud,
mm,
expressive, but not overly so. Like they're realistic
right,
in a way.
right. Thank you.
Like it, well done.
Yeah,
Like that's what I could say is well done. I mean,
yeah.
I
How
brag
about
about you
you?
all the time.
Favorite Disney movie?
Favorite Disney movie?
We're on this subject. So
Beauty and the Beast.
that's a good one.
That is like my jam right there.
I didn't get into that one until I got older.
Yeah, it
At
changes
first,
as
I
you get
didn't
older.
really.
It's like a
Yeah,
decent book that's like, oh wow, look at this, and then you
yeah,
get older and it's like, oh, oh, like.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
So got some more questions?
yes, I want to know, what is the most recent book that you finished?
I finished Tavi the Tiger Takes a Test, and I gotta say that I feel like I've learned a lot from this first book,
Really,
and
tell us.
I've really grown from, I need to add this more into it, or I need to, like, a lot of it's just the setup of the book I've learned a lot of, like title page, you
Right.
know, stuff like boring stuff like that.
It's not
But
boring. Like it's a
no,
work in progress, and there's so many people that
yeah,
want to do a children's book. But
yeah,
it's like, for example, I am the author because when I'm writing these stories, I'm writing lessons that
right,
I wish I would have known as a child, growing up as an
right,
autistic person that didn't even know. And
yeah,
then here you are over here just drawing these beautiful depictions and arts.
yeah.
And you contract art too. Like you do contracts
I
for
do.
businesses, individuals. And if you want
I
to find, if they want to find you, where can
Yeah.
they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, so we'll have that in the video.
We'll have that in the description, and it's also going to be popping up right there. We go.
Right.
Isn't that a little bit awkward?
And
Like out of nowhere, just like it's over here.
yeah, it's over here. It's invisible, but it's here.
Yes, the
Yeah.
imagination.
Right. Yeah, but no, I've done a lot of, like, I just finished a project for a local fishing business.
I like.
So, yeah, I've done that. And just a lot of pretty much anything, just whatever. They're like, draw me a horse. So I'll be like, okay, I like the challenge of
So
just drawing whatever they tell me to draw. So,
you bring me to an important question. Like we've seen, you can show off the book as much as you want to, because I love it. I
yeah.
love the way that
Oh,
you
I
draw.
love it. I've had so much fun.
But what about other types of art? So you've got the photorealism. Do you do any of that?
I do a little bit of that. I mostly like to do more like cartoonish kind of stuff. Like I take a lot of my inspiration from like 2D animation
Right.
or even like some books like manga I've taken from
I
like
like
Full
manga.
Metal Alchemist was like taught me how to draw hands.
Yeah, hands are
Just
so difficult. Like just getting the
yeah.
the sizing compared to your head compared to the body.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like, did you ever
That
struggle with that? Like in your early drawing career?
oh yeah. But I would say for me, eyes are like
Mm,
so much harder than hands because you don't want them to look dead.
right.
You know? Yeah, I don't know. Just eyes have always been the hardest thing for me to draw. But
So how did you overcome it? Like when I was drawing a little bit earlier, I'm nowhere near your level. Like I'm just like, hey, give me a pencil and I could sketch something. But
yeah,
when it came to
you still do pretty good. Yeah,
well, thank you.
yeah,
But
yeah,
when it comes to head versus shoulders, then knees and toes, like I would literally sing that song in my head when I first
yeah,
started, as like a little kid trying to draw, because I did the
yeah.
head first, then the shoulders, and then everything else because it was
Okay.
like a top down for me. What was
Right.
what helped you overcome the difference in perspective of size of like head, body, arms?
I would say a lot of it self-taught through like Pinterest. I've looked like a lot of like tutorials on there. I've done a couple of college classes and so pretty much just learning like everything is a shape. So I see
Hmm.
everything in shapes, like everything's a square, everything's just like a buildup of all these things and just practice and practice and practice and
Yes,
more
a lot of it.
practice.
A lot of failures, and then
Is
you get
yeah,
better and
oh,
better and better.
lots of failures. Too many failures.
Never too many, never too many. A
No,
failure is just
no,
one more step to success.
exactly. Yeah. But a lot of that is just kind of what brought me to where I am. And a lot of it has been encouragement, like from my friends. I have a group that we meet every month. We go and sit and draw together, have coffee. It's fun. But a lot of it is not being so critical of yourself
Yes.
and saying, this is growth. It might look terrible,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to look great someday. Like, I started and it doesn't look great, but it's really progressed just because just don't give up, you know? That's been the whole thing.
That's
Don't
one.
give up.
That's something I tell a lot of people when I'm talking to people that want to get into like any sort of social media, like TikTok,
Mhm.
YouTube, all of that.
Yeah,
Is you got to take your first step. You got to do your first
yeah,
video, even if it's a little bit awkward, even if it's not perfect.
right.
Step out. And you definitely like. It shows that you have a lot of experience in your drawing. Like,
Thank you.
how long have you been
Yeah, a
doing it?
lot. How long?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I've been drawing like my whole life, but I started really getting into it when I was like 17. So that's 5 years ago now, which is
Only
weird.
5 years. Like, you could do
Yeah,
all that with only 5 years.
just committing. Got to draw every single day, and
Mm,
then I think what really boosted me, like progressed my art, was
right.
I actually had a job that let me sit and just draw when it was like slow down times,
Mm.
and just having people looking at it and getting that harsh criticism and
I was going to
getting
ask about
that,
that.
yeah, getting that and getting like, wow, that's great. Just not letting the harsh criticism push you back, but taking both sides and being like, yeah, I could probably progress on that. Just putting yourself out there has really helped me like be more confident in it.
So, speaking
You look
of,
like you want to say something.
yeah, yeah, like when you're
Yeah.
talking about the harsh criticism, like criticism
Yeah.
is like the bane of my existence sometimes, like it has been in
Oh
the
yeah.
past.
Oh yeah.
And like there's a lot of people that give up with early criticism.
Hmm.
What would you say to them? And number two, how did you overcome it? Well, let's do how did you overcome it first, and what would you say to them?
Okay. So harsh criticism, overcoming that, pretty much kind of ignoring it, and saying to yourself that you're a lot. That's like one opinion. And
Mm,
what matters for your art is that you're making yourself happy,
right.
first of all, for it. And I was enjoying it. Like I'd write stories, and I just wanted to see that come to life. That's just always been my goal. Like I want to just see it more in my head. I want to see it out on paper. So just kind of believing in
Yeah.
yourself.
So that when you see something, do you
Yeah,
want to draw it or do you re-visualize it in your head before you draw it?
I probably revisualize it. Like when I was learning how to draw, a lot of it was seeing a picture and
Right.
then not like copying it because I wanted to create it and have my own thing. So I just kind of like make it a little different, kind of learn different techniques that way. I didn't want to just copy and paste things.
Yeah, I was that kid that would copy and like that would sketch the
Yeah.
outline and then I would fill it in, kind of like those
Oh
books
yeah.
that you get, where you can
Yeah.
color in.
Oh, I love those. Yeah.
Yeah, those were kind of my jam when I
Yeah.
first started.
They,
Like, and I'm nowhere near you.
those are fun.
So how would you
I
tell?
only
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, I only started liking coloring things in recently. Like, I do not like those color books, which is, you think I would, but I've never liked those. I'm like, I'd rather draw this picture than color it in. So my sister would just go and color it in for me after I drew it. Feel collaboration.
So speaking of like stepping out
Yeah,
of your comfort zone, you obviously did
yeah.
that with learning colors, and you've got
Mm-hmm.
some wonderful shades in there. I love
Thank
how
you.
you did that. In fact, show us
Thank
the
you.
book again. Yes.
Yeah.
But
I know, I like how the colors came out.
we'll go ahead and open up the book, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna think of how to frame this question.
Big one. I like the purple, and a lot of people have come up to me saying they like the color palette.
That's what I
And
was gonna ask about. Is
yeah,
where did that color palette come from? Like, what made it click for you?
just a lot of learning color palette is like I've been drawing digitally only for a little over a year now, and just being able to like move the colors around, see what looks good, and then kind of even looking at like interior design websites have really helped me
Really?
learn just like, okay, that color looks good, that color. Just get, because my grandma's actually really into interior design. So we'll kind of look at like websites together. And that's a lot where my color palettes have come from. And
Got
just
it.
kind of experimenting with digital, because with like on paper, once you color it, that's it.
It's it. That's it.
Unless you want brown, everything to be brown, mixing all the colors together. But yeah, just a lot of it's come from kind of engaging with my grandma and talking about like interior design. So that's where a lot of this came from.
So I want to ask, like you draw on a
Mm-hmm.
tablet. I've seen you do some of those drawings and how you do the
Yeah,
different layers, which I'd love to see
yeah.
you do like a tutorial video on how to do that. But
Oh yeah, yeah,
when I see those colors versus like drawing on our own, like
yeah,
freehand, like the way they used to draw,
yeah.
um, I guess what confidence did that bring to you? Like as far as your ability to, do you still prefer freehand? Like, do you still like to do freehand
Oh yeah.
versus
I like
like the
doing both.
tablet?
Yeah, like I like all my freehand is pretty much black and white,
Right.
but then I like the difference between that you have to stick with what you draw. It's a lot harder to like manipulate the image and make it how you want it, and that's like a good challenge. And then
Mm-hmm.
with my tablet, I know that I can explore like so much more. There's so much more I can do with it, and colors are so much easier to work with. And not that I don't like painting or anything like that, but I like just both. And I honestly forgot where this question was.
Okay.
What's the
So,
question?
well, do you have your tablet with you?
I do.
So, what kind of tablet is that you're drawing from?
I'm drawing from an iPad Air 4.
Okay.
So just using Procreate app. I've
Procreate.
used like Adobe too, but this one you don't have to pay like $30 a month, and it's actually super easy and very user friendly, and I like it.
And
So that's what I've been using.
you also got some videos that like Procreate allows you to show every step and every line that you've done.
Right,
And I know
right,
those videos are going to be going up soon.
exactly. Yeah,
So is that going to be part of your tutorial if you ever get around to it? Hint, hint, wink, wink.
yeah. I'm getting the hint. Yeah, I'll be adding like a lot of my sketching videos. You can see it like time lapsed of everything I do, and then I'll be recording some of my videos, and just you can kind of watch exactly what brushes I use and all that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
How long
in the
was the learning
near
curve for
future.
that?
What?
How long was the learning curve for that? To
Um,
learn the brushes and all of that, like the layers,
it's still just like it sounds like it's
right?
still I'm still learning, but I've been doing it for like, yeah, like I said, a year and a half. So pretty much just focusing on like one thing, like inking at a time, and then using like the paint brushes and just kind of venturing out and then seeing what other people are doing, like on Pinterest and Instagram, and just kind of experimenting.
So do you have a favorite artist?
Yeah.
I know, just
Yes.
kind of put you on the spot.
I have a lot of them. Where do I start? A
Who came to mind
lot
first?
of it. I know, yeah, put me on the spot. A lot of it has been like, yeah, like the artists at like Disney studios, like especially in the like 80s and 90s when they're doing that 2D animation. And then a lot of it's been like people online that aren't really as known.
Right.
Yeah, I like a lot of the like comic book artists, like the Greg Capullo. That's like a name that can pop up in my head. Uh, yeah, I don't even know where to start. Oh yeah, Full Metal Alchemist. I don't
I
know
can
how to
see that.
pronounce her name, but she's awesome.
I'll put it
Uh,
up here somewhere.
yeah, put it up there.
Yeah.
I know I'll butcher it, but she was definitely inspiration. And then people behind things like Studio Ghibli, I love their stuff. Um,
I've seen some of their
Avatar:
work.
Last Airbender is like one of my favorites. So I could go on.
You know, it's funny. Thinking
Yeah,
about when you mentioned the Disney artists from the 1980s and 90s,
yeah.
what comes to mind is The Little Mermaid and just
Oh,
how you draw versus what I've
mm,
seen from Disney.
mm.
And that there's definitely parallels
Oh
in
yeah,
just in how
yeah,
things are depicted and some of the animations that you put
yeah.
out there. Are you
And
ever going to get go ahead?
oh, they're just a lot of their expressions are like very inspiring. Like how they are super good with their expressions, and I take a lot of my inspiration from them. Like I already kind of mentioned. So anyway, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
I was going to ask, have you ever thought about getting into animation?
Yes, I would love to do that. You know, it's all about money. Committing to like a good class. I would love to go back to college for that
Mm.
someday. But illustration has always been like something I really wanted to do.
And you're very skilled at it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Like
that
everybody that's
and
seen your books is just like, wow,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah. When someone says they love the expressions
Yes.
or the colors, which is like the top two like compliments I've gotten on it, it's it's very humbling. I've worked really hard on those, and I'm very proud. That's like the best part.
So can you hold on one second?
What?
We're just gonna give it a quick second. I got a
Who's
little bit in the
that?
background.
Yeah, no.
Oh, have you met? Yeah, you've met Andrea.
Yeah, hello.
She
I
says
saw
hello.
you a little bit. The
But
sun.
yeah, I know. It's just like
It's
it's.
like I keep tilting it. I'm like, go away. Here, let me close the window.
Oh, no worries, no worries. In fact, I'm probably gonna keep that in there because that was a cute scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just make it live, kind of.
So
Don't do that.
show us some of the book because there were a
Yeah.
few scenes like where the little autist, the bunny, which I
Mhm.
almost want to call it like Thumper, but copyright.
Yeah,
but
right. Yeah.
but
Unofficial name.
it was those scenes are touching. Like they're genuinely touching. Can you show us like one of
Yeah.
them from there? Because I can't wait to
Well,
show off the next book.
every time someone's like reading the book and they get to this page, they're always like, "Oh,"
Yeah. Oh, like I said
but
that
they
too,
love the
like out loud.
story. Yeah. Oh yeah, out loud. And they're always like, "This is not the end." You know, this part. They're like, you have to find the cat." And then it comes to this page, and they're like, "Oh, good."
And there's
They're
such
so.
complexity in those emotions. Like it
Mm,
looks like they're afraid, but they're contemplating a decision. And then you've got
yeah.
the the cartoon version of Ryan, from like
Oh,
fam, was it Family
yeah.
Guy? Yeah, because I mean the cat
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
alive, and you see these expressions,
Yeah.
and the little autist is looking towards the cat for support and just kind of confused, befuddled. Like
Yeah.
there, you can't really tell that emotion, and I love that you grasp that the complexity
Thank
of it.
you. Yeah, I'm really happy how this page came out. So everyone's upset. Yay, you know.
Yeah, right.
No, no, that's not good. But yeah,
Yeah, let's hold off for just a second. I got a
yeah,
little wind back. Can you hear what's going on in the background or no? Okay,
no,
cool. I wasn't sure if the headset microphone can pick that up
yeah.
or
No,
not.
like I heard little like just kind of like scuff sounds or something, but very, very, very.
Very cool. This
Yeah.
is a decent headset. It's a Turtle
Oh
Beach,
yeah.
and I'm rocking with it. Now, what is that emotion that you were trying to capture there?
Here,
Yes.
just kind of like maybe. Let me think of a good way to put it. Like if you've lost something and you're really worried about it, but you're like, oh, there's still, I can still find it. That's kind of the expression. Like, where did you go? You're looking over, you're looking out the window or whatever, looking for your cat. So that's kind of that expression.
Yeah, because when I look at that expression, I mean, it almost seems like when you capture emotions,
Mm,
you are capturing those emotions. When you're capturing those emotions,
yeah, it'll come.
so it
Yeah.
you seem to have a great ability to depict those
Mm,
emotions, but it seems a little bit difficult for you to describe those emotions.
it
So, are you
it
placing
is.
yourself
Yeah.
in that character's shoes?
Yes. Like I'd be like, how would I react to this like what was happening with this character? Like what losing this cat? I remember losing my favorite stuffed animal and just looking everywhere, even in the most impossible places where it could be. But I would not sleep until I found my stuffed animal. So that's kind of where that emotion comes from. Like a lot of it's from personal experiences, thinking back to like childhood and like what really mattered to you back then versus what matters to you now and like what still matters, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Okay. I'm like, does that make sense? Yeah.
So, but no, I find that with a lot of artists is
Mm-hmm.
when they start to draw or to illustrate or to animate,
Mm-hmm. All right.
they really fall into the character, and then when you ask them to describe what were you feeling or how were you capturing that,
Yeah.
there's always a difficulty because their mind works a
Yeah.
little bit differently.
Mm-hmm. Like trying to remember what you were thinking in that moment. You know, like, well, it was just kind of raw, like, oh, this is what would happen. This is how the rabbit would feel, you know, that's how they'd feel. And, yeah, just kind of trying to bring that back up. It's like, well, I'd have to go back into the story again, which I am, but kind of going back through that movie in my mind and finding it. So, yeah, I have a hard time saying what, I don't know.
You have an
Like,
illustrative mind, is what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. It's more pictures than words, for sure. It's a lot easier to describe through words. I mean, through pictures. So,
Well, let's round this out. What is your
okay.
next project? What are you working on now?
We are working on Mr. Cogsworth. In, okay.
Mr. Cogsworth's Emporium.
Yes, thank you. We're working on that. Working on the concept art for that right now. Kind of figuring
Nice.
out what I want to do. I'm gonna be basing a lot of the setting in like a toy store that I used to go to down
Nice.
in San Luis Obispo, California. Shout out to a fun where I used to go when I was a kid. Anyway, just kind of basing it on that toy store. I don't think it's there anymore,
Oh,
which is I know it's kind of sad. With a
yeah.
lot of toy stores, they're not really there anymore. But that's where the setting's gonna really be around that place, because that was a very special place for me when I was growing up. So,
Very, very cool.
mm.
Well, I look forward to seeing the next book as we go along.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's just cover the lesson real quick. So, Mr. Cogsworth's
Mm.
Emporium, what is the lesson being taught there?
Pretty much just about, and correct me if I'm not saying this right, but like kind of learning, like sharing, and seeing what other, like, kind of like compromising on what you like to do. Like, how would you
Yeah.
describe it?
Well,
Not
you
trying
got
out.
two different people that like two different things, and then they're
Yeah,
coming together to because they can only get one toy.
right.
So
A
it's like,
very
okay,
common thing growing up.
yeah, and it's kind
Yeah,
of like having cousins, which I mean,
yeah,
ADHD and autism, they're kind of cousins because Tavi the Tiger,
right,
that's, ADHD, and the Little Autist is kind of, on the nose right there.
right, right, right. Yeah.
So, Well, I look forward to seeing future
Yeah.
books, and hopefully we could talk about the next book once it arrives from
Right.
Amazon, right?
Where is it? Should be here.
Yeah, Tavi the Tiger takes a test.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure, Erica. I look
Yeah,
forward
absolutely.
to future get-togethers and meetings.
Oh yeah. Every week.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
So, meantime, you have yourself an outstanding weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Any special plans for the weekend?
Gonna go up to Mount Hood and
Oh, I miss that place.
yeah, yeah, I know. I haven't been there since COVID, like before COVID. So we're really looking forward to doing a little like hiking, and we're gonna go on tubes and do some sledding. What about you? What are you doing?
I am going to be doing my side of editing for the videos, and I'm going to be brainstorming the next book after Mr. Cogsworth,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we're still debating on whether we're going to go with being sick or some other topics that might be coming up. You know, just
yeah.
lessons that, again, I wish I knew as a kid.
Right. And I know you already wrote like a story, and we have it up on our Google Drive.
Hmm.
So that's also one to consider.
I'll have to dive back into it.
Yeah.
Mwahahaha.
All
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to it. I'll get back to it, and I will catch you
Yep.
next week.
See you next week. All right, bye.